So let us now dive into the live demo of this integration. So the products that we use right now are QRadar SIEM 750 Upgrade Pack 7, QRadar EDR Hive server, which is at version 3.11.5, that is the latest Hive server, and the Windows endpoints which are connected to our Hive servers. So as for our diagram over here, let us now see how and what things needs to be changed or make changes at the console level and the EDR server level to make this integration possible. So first, we'll go to a SIEM server at CLI level, and then we'll install the required re Reactor DSMs and the protocols. So what are DSMs? DSMs is a concept in QRadar, which is device support modules. So these DSMs make sense of the logs that are ingested to the SIEM server. So whatever logs that are ingested to SIEM server are then converted into a fixed taxonomy, which can be then displayed on SIEM server. Now, this job of understanding the events and the contents that events bring in is that of a DSM. So IBM ourselves have made these DSM and protocols available. So you can go and download this from our marketplace, or these are also available in form of auto updates in QRadar. So explicitly, it will be available if you have the auto updates enabled, weekly auto updates or monthly auto updates. You should have the latest DSM, IBM Security EDR DSMs available and installed. How did we confirm it? By making a query to the RPMs installed and grabbing Reactor. Reactor is the old name of IBM Security QRadar EDR solution. Now that we have confirmed that we have the required protocols and DSM from the CLI level, let's move on to the GUI. So I'll log in to my QRadar console. So the first thing that we'll do is we will be configuring a log source. For that, I came to admin page and then I'll click on the log sources, which opens the LSM app. Once we go to the log sources, this app allows us to control, create, edit all the log sources that are deployed for your enterprises. So here we can see that, okay, there are log sources type and protocol type on the left, from which I'll select IBM Security QRadar REST API as the protocol type. This will list out a log source type, which is IBM Security QRadar EDR, and the number on the right gives us the current number of log sources from this type connected to my Hive server. In this case, we have one log source coming in, which is EDR AWS lab, and then I have already created this log source for the demo purpose. In real time, you will be just selecting create log source and then selecting log source type as IBM Security QRadar EDR and protocol types as EDR REST APIs. Documentation for this is available on our QRadar Knowledge Center. Let us see the details of these log sources. So we have provided the name and description. Over here, it is enabled. The log source type is QRadar EDR. Protocol type is EDR REST APIs. The event collector to which this log source is configured to connect and to talk to. Clicking on protocol gives us the details of the server address. Now this server address is nothing but the Hive server address to which it will be querying or checking which events are coming in. Then there is something called as app ID and secret key. Now this app ID and secret key is used to communicate with EDR Hive server. And we get this app ID and secret from the EDR dashboard. So for that, we'll go log into the EDR dashboard. Next, we'll go to API applications and just create on click application. We can give the name, suppose uh, any demo name or test name. I have already created multiple applications. I'll be using any one of this. Suppose QRadar integration is the application name. Then it has the app ID and secret key, which is generated, which can be copied and inserted into the log source management tab for setting the protocols. Using this app ID and secret key, the communication is allowed between EDR and SIEM solution. Once you do the test and the test goes through, we have our log sources configured and the events. Now, the events, when I say in SIEM terms, are the events which come from EDR. But as Prabhu mentioned rightly in the beginning, Hive server doesn't send all the events from endpoints to SIM server. No. For that, we already have the intelligence on our EDR Hive brain. So it sends only the alerts that are generated from the Hive server to EDR dashboard. As you can see, when I click on alerts, there are multiple alerts such as suspicious script execution, any ransomware possible detection, or anything that have been generated on the EDR server. EDR server, as I said earlier, itself is capable to mitigate, alert, and take proactive actions and remediations. So EDR doesn't send all the events that are associated with this alert. So there are n number of events which actually contributed to this alert. So if we go on analyze alert part, suppose this is an alert saying suspicious script was executed. And if we see the behavioral tree, we see that, okay, a Windows script WSEXE actually spawn a calculator.cxe. That means an executable was spawned from a Windows script executable, which is actually a behavior matching the tactic execution and defense evasion and the techniques that are available here. So that's why EDR flagged it as an alert. So this alert only will be sent to QRadar SIEM. So this saves the amount of events that are sent to the SIEM. This also saves the amount of efforts, duplication, because there will already be analysts who will be working on EDR Hive Brain and trying to analyze and contain that attack. So we are sending alerts only from EDR to SIEM to have a holistic view at network layer at all the three geos or all the three or the multiple sites that you may have deployment from. So this is the differentiation, or this is the key idea why we are sending or why we are integrating the EDR with SIEM, and the benefit of only forwarding alerts, because we don't want to eat up licenses. As we all know, it's a costly affair on SIEM front. So first, we checked that we have the required DSMs installed. Next, we created a log source. Now let us go and see the log sources. Let us add a filter for the log sources on our QRadar SIEM server. So let me filter for log source. And suppose I say EDR. Okay. So I'll select for real timing. So currently we don't see any events coming in. The reason, there are no new alerts generated on the Hive brain. Remember, there are events flowing into the Hive brain from the multiple endpoints. It has around 27 endpoints connected. It is processing the events, it is creating or it is evaluating as per its business logic. But QRadar doesn't have an event as of now because there's no such alert generated. So what we are going to implement is actually available in form of blog that we have published earlier. we have actually series of multiple blocks which shows these distinct integrations. One such integration that we are going to implement today, and other integrations such as UBA, the creating dashboards, etc. are available. Links for these blogs will be now sent by my colleague Prabhu on WebEx chats. So what we are going to do is create a rule wherein we will search for any system warnings or script executions which were highlighted by EDR server. So I have created a demo rule, which is EDR Reactor ISLC demo. Out of all the rules that are available from QRadar, we can always customize them, combine them, and create a powerful integration. All these rules, combinations, and use cases are available in these blocks. We have created around 4 to 5 robust rules spanning from UBA and QRadar to available to check the capabilities. So these rules, we have identified the log sources and the events that are coming in. We have set that rule to generate an offense whenever an event or the test conditions are evaluated to true. We say that, okay, dispatch new event, and then we say execute custom action. Now, this is again a powerful tool offered by QRadar. QRadar allows us to take an automated action in form of custom actions or custom scripts that are executed. So we have created a script which is available in our first block, which is this bash script, which actually isolates the endpoint after an alert is generated. So what is isolation of endpoint? Suppose an attack is detected on a particular endpoint, and the SOC agent or SOC analyst wants to analyze that attack, take a decision, but in between, he wants to prevent the lateral movement of the attacker. So then and there, Reacta gives you a capability to isolate that endpoint from network. Now for that, I'll have to go to the EDR dashboard, go to that particular endpoints, and then isolate it using UI. But this is available as a API part, and we will be consuming this Reactor Hive APIs via the script over here and automating this part. So in for an complete scenario, imagine this. So you have an attack that has happened on a particular endpoint. An alert was generated on that EDR Hive brain, and then that alert was forwarded to QRadar SIEM server. QRadar then itself executes this isolation script and isolates that endpoint till everything is contained, till an informed decision is made, mitigation steps and remediation plans are executed. Now, this is what we intend to demo, that irrespective of where the action or the which endpoint, which geo, which scenario these things have happened, we have SIEM which is sitting on top of all the 3 separate locations which act as separate log sources and take the isolation action. Now, isolation is just one such action that we have automated as part of the script. There are multiple APIs which are available through the API documentation of QRadar EDR, which can span from downloading the file, de-isolating the endpoints, checking the events, checking the endpoint groups, processing, kill the process, request for a file. So all these actions can be automated. Now, let us simulate a demo attack. So I have logged in to an endpoint wherein I am executing a Windows script, which in turn is actually executing or creating a new executable such as calculator. Now, this is actually a deviation from normal behavior, which will be detected by EDR for sure, because a Windows script was not meant to spawn or execute a new executable in all, which is totally new. So EDR will highlight this as an alert and it will take the corrective actions supported, and there is also something called as an assistant which will help you or a help analyst to take an informed decision. So when I come to the EDR Hive dashboard and I have created or executed these alerts over here, endpoints. So let me go to this endpoint and okay, we have the alerts flowing in. Okay, which says okay, suspicious script execution detected for this on test.javascript, which is coming from these two endpoints. Let me go and monitor this endpoint. So what is happening over here? Windows script executed and created a new script. Okay. As a SOC analyst, what I'll do is I'll come to the alerts page and I'll have to check my endpoints or the events that associated with this alert, the applications that were running, or the MITRE attacks, tactics, and techniques which it was matching. So in that time, when this attack has happened and the time we are trying to control or mitigate, we are asking QRadar via an rule that we created to isolate that endpoint. So if you see over here, the endpoint was automatically disconnected without any human interaction because the script that we wrote, the business logic of the script is such that it will bring in the source IP coming from the events and it will isolate that endpoint using the EDR APIs. So this in all is the business logic or the use case that we intend to demo where a if you see an offense is created on QRadar saying low severity suspicious script alerts. It has some associated events and the source IPs, and then in turn these source IPs are actually isolated till the time the analyst decides to de-isolate them. Now, de-isolation or isolation can be done via GUI or via the automations which are available in form of our APIs. Now, as you can see, this is one of the endpoint which is isolated. And as a SOC analyst, I am investigating this alert, whichever was generated, the date and time. And once I decide that, okay, now it is safe to bring back this endpoint into network, the attack is contained, I'll just click on de-isolate and a de-isolation request would be sent. Remember, this control of EDR over endpoint is very important. So when we isolate an endpoint from network, we try to control or try to isolate it, but EDR is still in control of that endpoint. So if you can see over here, currently we saw two endpoints which are highlighted as isolated. But even if it is isolated, we have a control over this endpoint via live response tabs. So what are the processes running on this endpoints? We can delete the processes, kill the process, download any particular file, or the process modules that are available. Now this is the power of EDR, controlling the endpoint even though it has all other network connections disconnected. So this endpoint control of EDR combined with robust capabilities and the powerful rules and correlation of QRadar SIEM is actually making a complete UEBA solution if you consider your user behavior analytics and protecting against insider threats. Suppose an user from a particular uh, endpoint is someday deciding to go ahead and exfiltrate data, moving lots and lots of data from one endpoint to somewhere outside your network. Your endpoint detected it. It showed that, okay, large data file transfer is happening. It has alerted the analyst. But QRadar at SIM level can also notice that, okay, at some part of my geo, there is this large data outbound transfer happening. So there's a rule of QRadar which detects such large outbound transfers, and we can create rules responses in such a way to execute some custom actions, such as isolating the machines or the assets that user owns. So not only the machine that was used to exfiltrate that data, but all the endpoints that were associated with that users can be detected and isolated, thereby containing your internal threats. And remember, internal threats accounts to 60% of any cyber attacks that happens today. So combination of these two products is actually empowering us to do much more in form of extended detections and responses and checking your UEBA requirements. So that's all that we had from this demo. So thank you.